You're invited.
Sophie would be very disappointed if I said no. Can you nail it? Sophie turned 70 Monday, so she's very, very pleased about that. Got projects that last
So there's pretty close to 6 months difference then
yeah.
between Lenny and Sophie.
Yeah, so Lenny is
7.5.
7, yeah, right. Let's come with a step back.
Help yourself. Oh, yeah, let's get Play-Doh all over the camera. That would be great. Yes. We probably won't get as many tonight, but you have just 1 minute. We should get going.
One more minute and then we'll freeze it. Yeah. I was thinking of the nice weather, people coming in slow and. Yeah. So in my quiet sorrow twice. In my quiet sorrow twice. And then we go right into sometimes I feel. So,
And that's once.
Oh, right.
so you have the two.
Yep, they're all together.
Okay. So we can get that up for right now and then we can get 30 more seconds for a countdown.
So as soon as you're ready, it's good.
Okay, so we have 106 on. Right here. Introduction and people.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Joey Hunter. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a congregant and board member of Merging Waters. We are a community that draws on the shared values of mindful interdependence, authentic curiosity, and courageous love. We welcome you who are joining us in person and you who are also joining us online. Hello, everybody. We don't see you. It is so good to be together today in all the ways that we can. If you are with us in person, we share the space here at the United Church of Christ, New Brighton, and we are so glad you're here. Please wear a name tag so we can practice radical hospitality and to build community. There are some on the counter, on the table out in the entryway area if you do not have yours. I have a few announcements. We encourage everyone to take care of your body's needs during this service and engage in ways that help you feel connected, which include crafting, doodling, fidgeting, walking, stretching. There's a space in the back, the fireside room, to help you do that. And we want children to feel welcome and be with and move freely between the two areas, be with their adults or in the fireside area. If you have a pastoral care need, please feel free to reach out to Reverend Krista. Newcomers are welcome to all of our programming, and you need not be a formal member. If you are new to Merging Waters, please consider signing up and receive our weekly e-news, which gives you details and links for our events. To sign up, you can include your email address on the sheet and at the welcome table and check the box that gives us permission to email you. If you are online, there is a connection card available on our webpage. Also, I'd like to let you know that next Sunday after service, we are having our congressional forum from 2 to 3 p.m. We will be talking about our contract needs with UCCNB, and the contract does need to be renewed this summer, so we need to go over the details about that. We'll discuss building security and then open the floor on the space. How is it working? What could be improved? Does it feel like home? So please keep that in mind for next Sunday. Joining me in worship service today are Reverend Krista. We have Bruce, the Director of Music Ministry, Ed, and Sam. He's hiding behind the tuba. Hello. Our volunteer tech team includes Katie and Byron in the back. Katie Johnson and Janice Sankott create the service slides. I'd like to welcome you all once again to our service today, and we hope these Sunday services provide a time of sanctuary, reflection, connection, and joy. We will light our chalice in person and encourage those of you who encourage you online to light one too. Yay. Today, the words are from Reverend Michelle Collins, titled "The Soft, Stubborn Practice." Come to this time of worship, worn, weary, or wide awake. In this gathering, we acknowledge the pressure of living, the tender ache of persisting through uncertainty, the courage of continuing when clarity is distant. Yet, here we are, still breathing, still reaching, still becoming. Today, let us embody resilience together, not as armor, but as the soft, stubborn practice of returning to ourselves, to one another, to the work of love.
Our opening reading today is by one of the favorite poets of Unitarian Universalists. Anybody want to guess? Bingo. Mary Oliver. a poem titled Heavy. That time I thought I could not go any closer to grief without dying. I went closer. And I did not die. Surely God had his hand in this, as well as friends. Still, I was bent, and my laughter, as the poet said, was nowhere to be found. Then, said my friend Daniel, brave even among lions, it is not the weight you carry, but how you carry it. Books, bricks, grief. It's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it. When you cannot and would not put it down. So I went on practicing. Have you noticed? Have you heard the laughter that comes now and again out of my startled mouth? How I linger to admire the things of this world that are kind and maybe also troubled. Roses in the wind, the sea geese on the steep waves. A love to which there is no reply. I would like to invite us into our opening hymn this morning. It's 10:06 in your teal hymnal. I want you to pay attention to how it feels, how it lands in your body and mind. So I'm going to come back and talk a little bit later about what works and what doesn't in this hymn. It's called In My Quiet Sorrow, and the words will also be up on the screen. Please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able. quick tech note. Katie, could you put captions on? So normally, I like to bring you all a story because we know the power of story for all ages. But today, since we are continuing exploring what it is to embody resilience, I'm going to do a little body practicing instead. And I'm actually going to have us do a couple of different time for all ages throughout our service. So the title of our service today, if you might have missed it, is Sprint, Marathon, Relay. We know we are in this particular moment of injustice, of violence in our neighborhoods and in our cities and in our towns here locally. And that embodying resilience in this time is a challenge. And we've come to the point for many of us where we're kind of on the edge of burnout and feeling like there's a lot going on. We heard this week the announcement, the big announcement that ICE is leaving. But it hasn't shown up yet. All the reports from the street say that we are still in the middle of an occupation. So we are going to continue practicing as we have been and learning new skills to practice resistance and resilience. Because even if ICE leaves Minnesota, the authoritarian government has not let its grip go. So I'm going to invite folks in a minute to settle in your bodies. And this might mean some movement. And it might be uncomfortable. So we're going to invite that. Joey and I are going to go through a reading that will invite us to breathe into different emotions and experiences and let them pass out through our body. Right? We know when we experience emotions, when we react to things, that those emotions and reactions are important indicators of something that's happening either around us or within us that needs attention. But they are not who we are. As we've been doing all of this resistance work in its many, many forms, it is easy for trauma to get stuck in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds, in our spirits. So in this space, we are going to take a pause from resistance this morning and shift into how to work some of that out of our system. So as we go through these different meditations, I want to invite you to feel where they are in your body. Right? To become aware of, oh, is this something that I feel in my shoulders? Is this something that I feel in my chest? Is this an ache that's kind of throughout my body? Where is it showing up in you? And what thoughts pop into your head unbidden? This is not about controlling or fixing, but about becoming aware of where we are and what's happening inside of us when so much of our energy is often focused on what's happening around us. Each of us come to these kinds of meditations with different experiences in our lives, which give us a different sense of safety internally. So I want you to pay attention to your own responses. If you have trauma that gets triggered, it is okay to stop the activity. It is okay to take a moment for yourself and maintain whatever barriers you need to have an internal sense of safety. But trauma is different than discomfort. If if you are just a little uncomfortable and not sure about this, I invite you to lean into that feeling because that is where growth can happen. So, I will start by inviting all of you, if you are willing and able, both in person and online, to rise in body and or spirit if your body is not willing and able to rise right now. And I want you to wiggle out your body a little bit, right? We're gonna shake your hands, shake your feet, don't try to kick everything. Shake all your parts, shake your head, that makes me dizzy. All right. Now I want to invite us to make some funny sounds because sometimes sounds come out too. All right, so we're going to take a deep breath and then we're going to make the horse sound. All right. Everybody ready? Deep breath. All right, now you have a choice. A whistle, a hum, a big, loud sigh, whatever kind of sound feels good. Ready? Okay. We're going to go into our meditation. This does not need to be a quiet meditation, right? So if those sounds need to come out of your body, if your body needs to move in certain ways, if you need to touch or hold or wiggle or shake any parts of your body as we go through these things, that is welcome and encouraged. And I'm going to invite Joey to join me now. Breathe in, breathing in. I am aware of my pain. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my pain.
Breathing in, I am aware of my past. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my past.
Breathing in, I am aware of my anger. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my anger.
Breathing in, I am aware of my despair. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my despair.
Breathing in, I am aware of my peace. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of peace.
Breathing in, I am aware of love. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of love.
Breathing in, I am aware of joy. Breathing out, I am aware that I am an agent of joy.
Breathing in, I am aware of hope. Breathing out, I am aware that I am an agent of hope.
Breathing in, I am aware. Take a few more deep breaths. Maybe revisit which of those hit you most strongly. Feel free to sit as you are ready. What do you notice? What do you notice about your mind and its thoughts? What do you notice about your body? What do you notice about your heart and your feelings? What do you notice about your spirit? In a minute, I'm going to invite us into song together. But first, if you are online, I would like to invite you to take a tour around your house and see what kind of art materials you can find. Here in person, we have paper and colored pencils and Play-Doh. So go, and if you're online, stand up, go see what you can find. Doesn't have to be perfect. And if you are in person, I will invite you to come forward and pick a Play-Doh or a piece of paper and some pencils, or both if you'd like. And you are invited to doodle, to fidget with the clay throughout my talking today. And then we'll come back together in a little while and create some art together. So please come forward as you're willing and able. If you need us to bring you something, wave your hand and we'll be happy to bring something for you. You can come around the table and grab from either side. All right, as we begin our fidgeting and doodling, we are going to listen to a round, one of my favorites, called Loosen, Loosen. And again, movement is encouraged and welcome. And as you pick up the song, the lyrics are on the screen, and please feel free to sing along as you'd like.
Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Let us hold that love in music as well as we sing together, There is a Love. I'm aware that there are theoretically 15 minutes left in this service. I am not going to end in 15 minutes. If you need to leave, please do so. If you don't, I invite you to stay, and we will worship together until the Spirit is done. I also will give you a heads up that I may curse at some point during this service. It's not normal for me, but sometimes it happens. I may also mispronounce his name. Soroya Chamalia, not sure, wrote a book called A Resilience Myth, New Thinking on Grit, Strength, and Growth After Trauma. And she says, no one is resilient alone at all times and in all situations. Resilience is a dynamic process, and it is healthier and more accurate to say that we take turns being resilient for one another. The crux of the cult of individualism is the belief that hyper-masculinized self-sufficiency that ends up making being human, in other words, having needs, being needy, needing to be cared for, being dependent, being vulnerable, or being weak, impossible. When I found this metaphor and thinking about the way we are doing our resistance work and how we are resilient is it a sprint? I know it kind of feels like it in Minnesota, or it did those first couple of weeks. But now we're maybe into, is it a marathon? Right? This is starting to feel pretty long haul at this point. But I think if we think about both resistance and resilience more as a relay, we find a new way to engage. We know from singing that when a choir is trying to hold a note for a long time, not all the voices are singing at the same time. We take breaths as we need them. Relays are the same. Not everyone is carrying the baton at the same time. It is handed off from person to person. And in some relays, you may even be doing different activities or different things that are different lengths of run. And so you take the baton during the length or during the activity where you are the strongest, and you hand it off to someone else who has different strengths or different endurance at different times. I'm going to talk a little bit more later, but I was able to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico for a conference with the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association a few weeks ago, and I left the Monday after Alex Preddy was murdered. And I tell you, up until the time that I was through security in the airport, I kept wondering if I should turn around and come back. Because stopping what feels like the most important work of resistance while we are in the middle of it is counterintuitive to the system that has trained us to keep going and pushing through and working incessantly in spite of what our bodies and our hearts and our minds might be telling us. But I had hit a point where I knew if I kept pushing, pretty soon I wasn't going to be any good to anybody. Because I was going to have to start shutting down my vulnerability, shutting down my ability to feel so that I could maintain action. And I'll talk a little later about what actually happened in Albuquerque. It's important to see and hear an example of what it looks like when we let ourselves feel and put things down for a while. And I warn you, it's not pretty. But I also want to ground us in this idea of resistance and resilience and taking turns and being in this work as a relay in the history of oppression. Right? Many of us in this space identify as white people. And for some of us, this intensity that we have experienced here in Minnesota over the last month and a half is new. Maybe not the work of resistance, but the intensity of it feels new and different. But we are not the first people to experience this intensity of oppression. In our own country, we know that people with Black and brown bodies have been experiencing this level of violence, of fear-mongering, of state, in our case, federally sanctioned violence throughout our history as a country. I have been blessed to be able to do a lot of research over the years and be in relationship with a number of different people with different views who are Black and brown of various cultures and traditions, and learn firsthand the wisdom that they have gained through these painful experiences that we wish no one had to have this wisdom. But to remind us, particularly during Black History Month, that there is wisdom that exists. There are stories of resistance and resilience, and they include pushing back against the myth that resilience means we keep going even when we are breaking. The idea of the strong Black woman is being pushed back against in every corner of activism right now. That what all our bodies and spirits and hearts and minds need is rest. We need time and space to grieve, so that when we come back to the work, we come back with hearts and minds ready to engage. Ready to create a new vision rather than simply feeling the weight of anger and fear driving us to stop, but not helping us to create. Our opening hymn this morning, In My Quiet Sorrow, felt like a very white perspective on sorrow to me. Because it says, I will hold this, and I will keep going, and I will push through. And there are moments where it reaches out and says, be with me and hold me. But it's still laced with the individualism that has infected all of our minds, whether we want it there or not. So I want to invite us into singing a different song. A song of lament that is grounded in the African American experience in the United States, called Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child. It's not a song that has any solutions, but it's a song that invites us to be in our pain and to allow it to be present with us as we hold one another. And then I'll talk some more. So please, I will invite those who are leading us in singing to come up, but everyone else is invited to remain seated for this one. And it is hymn 97, if you have a hymnal in the gray hymnal and would like to look at that as well. Otherwise, words are on the screen. I went a long way from home to find the space I needed away from the constant demands of action and the scrolling of what is coming next. To be among my colleagues, to be among other Unitarian Universalists who I knew could hold my pain. Because while they had their own, it was not quite at the level of ours being in Minnesota in this moment. And I tried to engage at first. I got up early, I exercised, I took my coloring book with me to the main worship, and I sat and I colored a coloring page that said there is much fuckery to be done with flowers. And I listened to worship, and they sang a song called Rise Up. A song talking about finding all of the strength that we need, all of the endurance we need, all of the resilience we need in this moment. And I said, fuck that, I'm not here for more resilience, I'm done. And myself and 2 other colleagues from Minnesota stood in the back of the hall, sobbing our eyes out, feeling the pain come through. Knowing that that song would be powerful eventually, but in this moment, we did not want to be held on any longer. We needed to let it all go. We needed to feel the weight that was on our shoulders and let it come through our bodies and through our tears and through our cursing, of which there was a lot. And we sat together in the executive team office all by ourselves with the chaplains coming to join us and cried and said, this time of learning is not going to be a time of learning in the same way for us that it is for our colleagues. For us, it is a time of lament, of letting go, of saying, great, you all learn how to do the work while we collapse for a minute. I tried to go to session because there was some really interesting information about meeting the moment and resistance building, and I was interested, and I'm like, yep, that's what we're doing. Yes, that's what we're doing. And then they invited us into an embodied practice where everyone circled around and we were invited to row together. And row in time, and I knew what the fuck was coming. I knew the metaphor of the waves hitting the boat. I knew the how do we get in time with one another, and started singing This Little Light of Mine, which we had just been singing, marching through the streets to Target to tell them to stand up and make a statement already and take a stance against authoritarianism, which they still haven't quite done. And I stopped rowing as other people continued on, and I watched the room keep rowing. And I said, why is no one else stopping? Seriously, y'all gotta stop for a minute. And then they said, imagine, as things escalate in your community, and gave lots of examples, and they said, imagine someone was just shot and I lost my mind. Because I didn't have to imagine. We've lived it. It still lives in all of us. And so the UUMA sent me to the spa for the afternoon to get a massage, to help work some of it out of my body. And then I went to the spa again the next day and got another massage. But I also switched to the trauma track where they understood what the heck was going on with me without me having to explain. And I couldn't taste the food the first couple days. It was great food. I knew that objectively, but it felt flat. And I kept getting up in the morning and working out and meditating. But it took a few days to start to feel anything other than raw. And I did eventually start to feel again, but I had to do a lot of hard listening and letting my body and my spirit process in the way that it needed to rather than the way that I thought it should. And eventually I came back to a place of grounding. Knowing that I was surrounded by colleagues. And also knowing that you all were still here. That just because I stepped away, the work didn't stop. The way you all care for one another didn't stop. Unfortunately, I am now crying more frequently rather than less. But it's a sign that things are moving, that my emotions are able to be present in a way that they couldn't because I was on the edge of burnout before I left. This is what it looks like when we let each other take a break, when we keep passing the baton. And I came back and spent a week sick at home with my kids. And then this week, I went out to another clergy conference calling on our nation to stop funding ICE. And there were 2 UU ministers there, as opposed to the 15 to 20 that had shown up before. And I said, yes, we are in relay, which means not everyone shows up, but we each show up to the things that we can, and together we continue to be present. We continue to support one another. But it's not the same as that immediacy when something big happens. Now, it is a major, major privilege that I know most people do not have, to be able to go away and have this time to fall apart. I wish I could give that to every single one of you. And what I bring back from the trauma class is the idea of titrating. Instead of doing one big decompression, what's actually healthier is to keep doing it in little doses. To give ourselves permission in spaces like this to fall apart a little bit. Knowing that we are surrounded by community, knowing that the work will go on, and that we will come back to the work when we are ready. And I'm going to save more of the things that I was going to preach for next Sunday, because I have one more Sunday of embodying resilience. But I want to come back to those art supplies that we have. And make sure that I'm not skipping over anything absolutely crucial or throwing everybody else off. What have you created in your doodling? Anything? Nothing. Both of those are perfectly fine answers. Perhaps you made something out of clay and then squished it again. I did that about 5 times. Yep, we've got lots of that happening. That's an important process. And we can do a lot of creating alone, but then we can come together and create together as well. So I want to invite us into just a couple of minutes for those of us in person and those of us online. If you want to take a picture of what you've made or create something in the next couple minutes and then take a picture and share it. If you're in person, I invite you to turn to your neighbor and turn to your own creativity and express where your heart is right now. Maybe it's physically on one of these heart papers, drawing what your heart feels like or looks like. Maybe it's putting some of that Play-Doh, squishing it onto the heart itself. If you need another paper, if you need more colors, come grab them. And then add to each other's creations, because we are impacted by one another. And bring them forward onto the table as you have something created that feels like it will do for this moment. So I'm going to watch the clock for about 2 or 3 minutes and invite you to lean into creating in whatever way feels good for you in this moment. And then we'll invite people to bring them up and keep sharing and creating for another minute or 2 together. If you'd be willing to bring your creation up to the table, I'd love to see a collage of creations up here. And then I'm going to combine our offertory and our singing into one piece for the interest of time.
I love all those creations. And the colors, very pretty. Let us now enter into a spirit of generosity. Today, undesignated contributions will go to support Merging Waters' regular operation expenses. But if you'd like your contribution to go to our monthly community partner, Immigrant Defense Network, please put your money in an envelope and mark on that envelope. Or if you do it online or on your phone, there's a special donation drop-down that you can use to indicate where you'd like your funds to go. The basket will be passed in person. If you are on Zoom or prefer to give online, please do so. And while the basket is passed, we will share the words on the screen for loosen, loosen again.
We're going to sing through each part twice and then invite you into singing the round as you feel moved. We'll come forward and collect. We're going to multitask and sing and do the collection at the same time. Practice that one again next week. Our closing words today are by Reverend Michelle Collins. Prayer for resilience through connections. Source of love, spirit of interdependence, we give thanks for the web that holds us, the hands that have steadied us, the voices that remind us we are not alone, the presence of those who have leaned on us just as we have leaned on them. Resilience is not a solitary triumph. It is woven through community. Shared meals, gentle questions, Laughter that breaks through grief. Courage borrowed from one another when our own runs thin. In this moment, let us remember that we are stronger together than apart. May we continue to offer and receive care, trusting that our connection sustains us, even when we cannot behold the whole picture. Blessed be the bonds that hold and that keep holding.